Dr. Quirion has a really impressive background. I'm just going to try to summarize it quickly. He is a former Vice Dean for Science and Strategic Initiatives in the Faculty of Medicine at McGill. He's also the former Scientific Director at the Douglas Hospital. He has in fact been an author on over 650 different scientific publications, making him one of the most cited neuroscientists in the world. He's actually also a member of the Royal Society of Canada. And besides all this, one of the main reasons he's here today is because a little over a year ago he was appointed the Chief Scientist of Quebec. And so I think he's probably going to be talking to us a little bit today about his role in that capacity. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Quirion.
Merci beaucoup. C'est un plaisir d'être de retour à McGill aujourd'hui, d'être avec vous. Et certains visages que je connais et reconnais dans la salle. But at the same time, Friday, last speaker, at the end of a couple of days of discussion on a beautiful day, tomorrow will be rainy and cold. Thank you very much to have accepted to stay here. So I'll summarize, I'll try to be brief, summarize a little bit of my world over the past year. And maybe for the student in the room, sometimes I ask, does it really exist, that job? And how do you become a chief scientist? Well, I really don't know. I was hearing some of the discussion and science, not science. Well, myself, I'm from a very small village. My parents own the only restaurant in town. So very early, I learned to make hot dogs and hamburgers, and that's what I do best. So maybe next time we could give it a try. So it was easy. I did not do the last year in high school, skipped it, went and then say, well, what are we going to do? So I'm the only one. I'm from a large family, 8 kids, the only one who went to university. So what I'll go to science. I'm not sure exactly what I want to do. I'll go to science. So I did science at the college level, at the Cégep in Sherbrooke, and I did a lot of math. I love math. And I also took in the last year a course in geology, and I love it. The teacher was a whole thing. The teacher was so fabulous. I said, wow, I never thought that I would like rock, studying rock and how the earth move and all this type of thing. So I applied at the university in geology at the University of Montréal, in biomedical engineering at the University of Québec at Trois-Rivières, and in biology at the University of Sherbrooke. So I really knew what I wanted to do, from live thing to rock. Was accepted everywhere, and my father was instrumental, although he had only a grade 7 type of primary school, was instrumental in my decision of going to Sherbrooke. Why? Because he said, well, Rémi, your brother, a year younger than me, is starting in college in Sherbrooke. If you decide to stay in Sherbrooke, I will buy you a car. So I was 18 years old. So the car was the attractive thing, and with the car came biology. And then I ended up doing biology. And a lot of time when I did after that my PhD was not really planned. It was not really planned. The postdoc in the state was supposed to go to San Diego, last minute turned out to be Washington, D.C. A lot of stuff like Douglas Hospital, when they called me, I was still in D.C., called me saying, well, we want to do more basic research at the Douglas, will you be interested? The first question, where is the Douglas? So all that it was not really planned, and I think we need to have that open mind, even today, although more difficult, more complicated today, and a lot of the students have to choose so early on. It's a bit counterintuitive because we don't really know. So that's kind of my journey. And a year ago, started as a chief scientist in Quebec. So basically, it was a big decision because I had to decided to stop being an active actor, so to have a lab, to have students in my lab. So I just closed my lab at the Douglas August 31st, a few days ago. So but the government, the Quebec government last year created the position of Chief Sciences Officer and reorganized the 3 major funding bodies in Quebec, and I talk about that a bit more. What was the reason behind all that? Well, hopefully increase competitiveness of Quebec scientists in all the fields, from arts, engineering, health science, and so on. International impact, trying to find ways to make link a bit more easily at the international level by being under one umbrella. To develop very large research programs on few key questions, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Improve public science literacy, that's also part of my job. Not an easy one, but it's part of the job, and a fun part of the job, I must say. And knowledge mobilization. And one of the first things I did when I started is to hire a director of knowledge mobilization, not of knowledge translation. It's not from one way, from me that I know everything to somebody that knows nothing, so you translate to that person. It's not like that. It's an exchange. We exchange and then we try to resolve issues when we are at the same table. So that's part of the deal. The main mandate. And I must say that when I started a year ago, I was not thinking that it would be rocky as it has been. So I've been through 2 ministers, soon a 3rd one, next week. I'll have a new boss again next week. Of course, change of government, change of deputy minister, and change of all the chief of staff. So you just start to know these guys, and they disappear. But they tell me it's part of the deal. When you own these type of jobs, it's part of the business. So what's my role? Well, 1 is to advise, number 3 here, to advise the ministry. I'm at the level of a deputy minister, so to advise the Ministry of Economic Development, Innovation, and Exportation about research and innovation in Quebec. So all kind of topic and thematic. Chair the 3 board, the 3 funding bodies. I'm chairing each of their board. Coordinate large project, as I mentioned before, to increase our impact nationally and internationally. Then there's administrative duty, a bit more integration of the administration of the 3 funds, and scientific literacy. So that's basically the mandate that I got from government. The 3 funds, and many of the students here maybe know them, so basically these funding organizations remain in a sense as they were. So you have 1, nature et technologie, tout le génie, mathématiques, chimie, toutes les sciences pures, donc l'équivalent du Conseil national des sciences et génie au niveau fédéral. C'est Maryse Lassonde qui est la directrice scientifique. Maryse Lassonde, une formation en neurosciences, psychologie, et vous la connaissez peut-être parce que c'était l'aviseur des Canadiens de Montréal pour tout ce qui est traumatisme crânien. Donc on l'a vu très souvent à la télévision, elle n'est pas tellement ça quand on réfère à elle seulement pour cette spécialité-là, parce qu'il y a bien d'autres choses qu'elle a fait dans sa vie. Donc elle est en poste depuis le mois de janvier dernier. Santé, Reynaldo Battista, qui est en recherche évaluative, recherche épidémiologique, et qui lui a commencé, un médecin, et qui a commencé avec nous le 1er juillet. Et le fonds Société Culture, qui est l'équivalent de sciences humaines au niveau fédéral, M. Normand Labrie, qui est un spécialiste du bilinguisme et de l'éducation, qui était à Toronto, à l'Université de Toronto depuis près de 30 ans, et là qu'on a réussi à récupérer au Québec. Pour tous les fonds, une des grandes priorités, c'est la formation de la relève, la prochaine génération de chercheurs. Ça, c'est vraiment l'emphase très importante pour les 3 fonds. Juste pour vous donner une idée, so the total budget of the 3 funds is about $200 million per year. This is what each of the funds are supporting in terms of trainees and salary award. So it's about 1/3 of the funding. So a major priority, studentship, fellowship award, and salary award at the junior level when you get an assistant professor position. And that will remain, that's critical. We need to make sure that we continue to support the best mind in the province of Quebec, so that then after that they could take job here in Quebec, in university, in government, in the private sector, and so on. But keep the next generation. Some priority of that umbrella, Fonds de recherche du Québec. I already mentioned that, the next generation of scientists and researchers in all fields. So this morning, just to give you a bit of an idea of how my brain works, a bit split brain, my first meeting was to discuss about the impact of arts on the quality of life of a society. It was kind of interesting. And then I went into the mining industry in the north. Now that we're going to explore these type of things in partnership with the people that live there. So a lot of very challenging. It's almost like if I'm back in high school, in a sense. I learn a lot every day. Center of Excellence. A lot of good things were done over the past 50 years in funding various centers in Quebec. So we want to build on that, not to start from scratch, or adding to excellence. Intersectoral research, I already mentioned that, international partnership, education in science and research. So now these are the 5 main priorities. And just 1 or 2 words on some of these. It's only a year, we spent quite a bit of time in the early days to recruit the scientific director. Now we're starting to be a little bit more in the action phase. So one of the things that may be of interest, the event that may be of interest to you is in November. Training of grad students in Quebec University. So if you are interested, just let me know. We could invite you to some of these events. Because one of my bias, and I admit it's kind of a bias, and they have some of my students in the room here, I train quite a few students over the year, but close to 100 probably, postdoc, PhD, and master. But I train them a little bit like I was trained 20-some years ago. So in the end, when you defend your PhD, you know everything about nothing. And we need to change that somewhat so that you are better prepared as students for the job market. Because some of you will end up in academia, but probably few, or very few. So you have to have other type of exposure to other type of career, having other type of course, so that you are a bit more competitive. So that will be the summit that we'll have in a couple of months. So what we want to do there, just to say, okay, where are we? État des lieux. Dans les différentes universités au Québec, c'est pas toujours le même modèle. Il y a des modèles différents dans les polytechniques, par exemple, Sherbrooke par rapport à McGill, McGill par rapport à l'Université du Québec, etc. Try to see where do they seem to do a better job, or they may do a better job than us. So also we have various groups that are now looking at that over the globe, and we're lucky in a sense because they had a huge report that just came out in the US. It was the US Academy, the National Academy, and Edward Monroe Bloom, the principal at McGill, was the only Canadian part of that working group, and at least there is some recommendation, and many of them do apply to Quebec and Canada. And then try to develop a new way of thinking about grad program in Quebec by maybe exposing the students that are interested, not necessarily everyone, but like ethical aspect, huge. Go to health, in health that's for sure, but anything. You go in engineering and you will implant knees or electrode in the brain. A lot of these kind of issues, ethical issues, very critical, and we need to have a bit more exposure to that. Administration. How you do your PhD, you work on things, you work with your little animal, rat or mouse, depending what you do. You do your postdoc, everything's fine, you write paper. Then the first day on the job, you have no clue, you never hired anyone, never had administration, don't know about finance, and you're there all on your own in the first day on the job. Challenging, so we need to find a way also to expose the trainees a little bit more to that. Part of the collaboration of that. So what we want to do, if things goes well, is to have them after that have some kind of request for application by the center, by the university that may be interested. We don't necessarily want to change the whole of the province at once. It will take time. And maybe there's already example here and there of program that have been put in place that seem to work quite well, that could be eventually tested at some other site in the province. So hopefully we'll be able to do that, to change slowly but surely the way we train the next generation of scientists. Topic for discussion, just to mention that again, current training program, education system, and the ability to recruit, train, and retain. That's also very important, to be able to retain the best mind here in Quebec and in Canada. The need of our society, very challenging. We hear often, well, we train too many PhD. Do we? We don't have much data on that. What will be the job market tomorrow? And by tomorrow, I mean 5-10 years from now. If you stop to train some PhD, then maybe you will have a vacuum for many, many years, like what happened for medical doctor in the province of Quebec. So very, very challenging to know exactly how many. My bias that if you end up with a master's degree or PhD degree, you're better off than many other people in the society. A lot of interest by the student community. On each of the board, we have a student representative, and they are key in the organization of that summit, as well as we have a FOC, all the various organizations, very keen on being involved, and we're very active. So we think we'll have probably over 100 attendees from various sectors, of course the university sector, government, critical, my ministry is MDEE, but the Ministry of Education is absolutely critical. Various agencies, the private sector, and a few external invitees that will tell us, well, we do it that way in our country and it seems to work best. Second major topic that we are focusing on, what we call intersectorial research, trying to bring a little bit of the various solitude from the three funding bodies together on fairly major project. Last year, or earlier this year, we asked our community, the research community in Quebec, to send us a proposal about what we consider as a major project. And we told them there is no form and there is no budget. Then I got called by many researchers saying there is really no form, and you're joking, there is no budget. No, but they sent us a proposal anyway, and we got about 65 of those, and some of them were just amazing. Many universities work inside the university to see, okay, what do we do in the following area? So we got great proposals, 6 of them on the topic of the aging of the population. Quebec with Japan, the average age is highest in the world. And of course, it creates challenge related to healthcare, for example, but a lot of chronic disease, but also a lot of opportunity in terms of architecture, how you build a city that will be easier to use by an aging population. If it's easier for them, it will be easier for everyone. Transportation, art, culture, all these types of trade, to bring that all together. And now we started to have more and more discussion on that topic, and we'll have a summit, another one, on October 23rd to 24th to discuss about research program in aging. Another one, and it's not surprising, the North. With the previous government, of course, Plan now and all that, but Quebec has to develop the North. So it will happen, probably a bit differently with the new government, but still, expertise in the North, especially on the social aspect, on the cultural aspect, in the health sector, in addition, of course, to the mining industry, transportation, climate change, and all that, very important. And we had another kind of get-together 2 weeks ago on that topic, and now we're ready to release a call of network of partner on research in the North. And of course, First Nation have to be there from day one. They have to be co-lead on many of these programs, otherwise it will fail. It's impossible to translate or to mobilize the new knowledge into improving socioeconomic activities in this population. So another one that was suggested to us, green city, art and culture, as I mentioned a bit earlier, energy, education, etc., etc. So that's a fun part. So each of the funds are keeping their main mandate with the budget they have, and we get additional dollar. That's what we did for the North. In the last budget of Quebec, we had a special budget for that, to create that type of network. We aim for the same aging of the population and so on in the future. So the third one, and I will finish with that, science and society. Of course, for the funds, the main objective, training the next generation of scientists and production of new knowledge. But in addition to that, we have to make sure that this knowledge at some point may be mobilized to improve socio-economic aspect of the Quebec population. So that's one big thing and big challenge. The other one, how to foster interest in research and science. And challenging, but really we need to do that. I must say, when I was at the Institut de Recherche du Canada, CIHR, for various years, being the director of the Institute of Neuroscience, Mental Health and Addiction, you're in Ottawa, you attend many different meetings. You see, for example, the deputy minister, you see the executive director, and you drive back to Montreal and you are all upset. It's not really what you want, it not go as fast as you want. It's quite frustrating sometimes, these type of meeting. And then you get a call from your student, and the student says, wow, I just had that, what do you think? And then you see this type of data, and it's just amazing. You're the first two person in the history of mankind to see that thing, to have that data. Of course, after that, it takes 10 years to convince anyone that's important. But that's the pleasure of discovery. It's something that we need to instill in young Quebecers. I will love if many will come to us at some point and be as excited about science as they are about the Montreal Canadian. Maybe they're dreaming in color. If the Montreal Canadian comes to do badly, I'm sure it will happen. So what do we want to do here? To try to find a way to seduce you, training, student, to be a bit more involved. Well, one little program that we started a few months ago, programme étudiant chercheur étoile. Donc tous les fonds, à chaque mois le fonds choisit un étudiant chercheur étoile sur la base d'une publication scientifique. Donc l'étudiant ou son patron ou ta blonde, ta mère, ta belle-mère nous envoie le papier. Il y a un groupe qui regarde tout ça et à chaque mois on choisit un étudiant chercheur étoile. Donc, un en santé, un nature technologie et un société culture. These are my 3-star of the month. Again, much better than a 3-star the Montreal. And I will really hope, and that's one of the things we are aiming, we have not succeeded yet, but I will really hope that maybe some of these winners will be featured, let's say, in Journal de Montréal. Then I will have succeeded. If it's a feature in Le Devoir, it's okay. Nothing against the Devoir, I read it every day. But already they are kind of a bit more, they are part of us in a sense. But the other one, to basically make sure that the whole of the Quebec population is a bit more aware about what the students are doing, I think is critical. So we have these 3 every month, and they are intersectorial, they are multidisciplinary. Some will work on some novel gene that discovered that may be associated with the cancer of the prostate. The other one, a new gizmo that you just did that maybe will help us to go on the moon. And the third one, some social aspect and why young men kill themselves more than in other provinces. So these guys get together, and it's like one speak Chinese, French, and maybe Portuguese, different language. But we bring them together, and then they start to say, maybe here is something we could do together. So basically one of the objectives is at the end of the first year to bring them all together, there'll be 36 of them, and have them tell us what they do. And after that, hopefully they start to mix and exchange and learn from each other. Very stimulating. And we, I forgot to say that, but we also give them $1,000 each for a party or whatever they want to do. But, and we want to use them. There's never a free lunch, as I now know very well. They get that, but we also tag them, in a sense. Say, hey, we need your help. Because it can be much more effective than me going to high school or primary school, because they are about the same age, a bit older, but not that much. And they talk to them and try to say, okay, why is it interesting? Why did you decide to go in science? Why did you decide to go in sociology and so on? Very important. So for those of you who do research, well, send us your paper and hopefully you'll be able to win one of those days. Training, the second one, which is a big one, bigger one, I would say, training, and I think you talk about that a little bit, training the next generation of science and research-focused teacher for primary and secondary school. I've discussed, of course, with MDA, with my boss, I've discussed with the Ministère de l'Éducation, Loisirs et des Sports. And basically on that one, they told me this is none of your business. And they are kind of right, probably. But on the other hand, like in my hometown, the township, many of the small schools, someone may have taken a little bit of biology at the university to become a teacher, a primary school teacher, then that person end up in that school, in that small city, and for various reasons end up teaching geography or religion. And the one that want to teach geography end up teaching mathematics. To have them as role model, it's hard. So yes, we need to involve the university. I already talked with the dean of each of the faculty of education in Quebec, but it's more than that. We have to talk to the union about how we organize that and how the job description and task, and so a huge challenge. But I think it's possible. There is model. Finland, of course, is a small country, but they have done that and they've succeeded. It's more homogeneous in Quebec, maybe a bit easier there. But one of the big differences, at least that I see from the outside, is the value of education in our society. This is critical. If we don't value our education, or higher education more and in better way, and at some point we pay, I know there's a teacher in the room here, we pay a teacher as much as you pay a medical doctor. That's what happened in Finland. So there is as many applicants to go teach in primary school as there is to go to law or to medicine. So the value of education, not just at the university level, but really primary school, because it's taught there for many of these things, primary school and high school. So a big one, and I hope if the summit is successful in November on grad student and training of grad student, then we'll be able to backtrack a little bit and to go at the underground level. The third one, science to our politician, maybe I could say science to our fellow citizens. And it's a challenge there. They created the position of chief scientist in Quebec, but doesn't mean that the door are always open and they are waiting for me. They don't know me. So you have the ministry and the boss, minister, but then you go to another one. There's so many silos in the various ministry, and these guys are busy. They work, we often think they don't want this and so on, but they work like crazy, most of them. And it's very challenging to capture their attention. So if you have any idea, then we need to improve what we do there. Some suggestion, for example, having a little breakfast at the Assemblée Nationale before they start their day. Because after that, they run until 9 o'clock at night and they are too tired. But we need to find simple example of the usefulness of research, of education, of science, and so on. And bring students, again, what we want to do here is not to go just the scientific director or just me, but to bring young trainees or young professors that could impress them and say, yeah. And that could be quite useful. You need to sustain. What's difficult is that you cannot go only once or twice. You need to sustain over many years. And as we know, these guys change. And they will continue to change with the minority government. But I think it's part of our job. Then, maybe finding new ways. Of course, adding hands-on. There is various activités à Expo Science, plusieurs de ces activités à travers la province, et ça continue, on ne veut pas réinventer la roue, on travaille avec ces gens-là, mais aussi peut-être trouver un peu plus de nouvelles façons, de trouver des façons peut-être plus avec Twitter, d'être capable de passer notre message en 144 caractères. Pas évident. Et si on réussit pour les étudiants, peut-être réussir pour les politiciens aussi, parce que plus que 144 caractères, ils ne regardent pas. Et je pense qu'on doit utiliser de nouvelles façons d'essayer d'intéresser les jeunes à la chose scientifique. Ici, peut-être tout simplement terminer en disant que Un autre aspect, bien sûr, de sciences et société, c'est la mobilisation des connaissances. Et c'est pour ça qu'on veut changer un peu la façon de faire. Et le premier exemple est peut-être avec notre recherche dans le cadre. Vraiment, oui, l'excellence scientifique, c'est absolu. Mais en plus de ça, la pertinence. Donc, on travaille avec les gens sur le terrain en termes de questions de recherche. Ça ne veut pas dire qu'on va faire tout ça partout. Là. Les 3 fonds vont continuer à supporter une recherche non dirigée. Mais lorsqu'on aura des grands projets intersectoriels, il faut que nos partenaires soient là pour s'assurer que par la suite, on va pouvoir intégrer ces nouvelles connaissances-là dans le réseau, dans le système. Et ça s'applique à plusieurs milieux. Et oui, il y a un aspect d'économie, mais il y a un aspect aussi de société qui est tout à fait critique. Juste 2 exemples. Ici, j'ai déjà parlé du Nord. Et c'est vraiment absolument important d'avoir les gens qui vivent dans le Nord. Ils sont très différents aussi d'une partie du Nord à une autre partie du Nord, les communautés inuites par rapport aux communautés amérindiennes. Donc vraiment les avoir à la table dès le début. Et un autre domaine, c'est dans le domaine des sciences de la vie. Et on a eu un sommet le 1er juin dernier, à la demande du premier ministre, avec 3 ministres qui étaient là, Finances, mon patron, MDIE et aussi Santé. Et on avait plein de pharmaceutiques, plein de compagnies en biotechnologie, plein de compagnies en équipement médical. Mais si le ministère de la Santé, si le M3S n'est pas là, n'est pas preneur, ça ne sert pas à grand-chose. Et ça arrivait souvent ici au Québec que nos chercheurs, en université ou en cégep, développent de nouvelles approches, de nouvelles façons de faire, et c'est presque impossible de le valider ici au Québec. Parce que le système de santé est trop fermé, les gens sont déjà débordés, et il y a peu d'opportunités pour vraiment essayer de nouvelles choses, d'être un peu plus innovateurs dans le réseau. Et si on veut le faire en partenariat avec le ministère, avec le M3S, pour au moins avoir une petite porte, une petite fenêtre où on peut essayer de nouvelles choses dans le milieu de la santé au Québec. Et en plus de ça, on doit s'assurer de ce qu'on appelle social acceptability. Hein, on l'a vu avec les OGM en Europe. Si ça a demandé sa part d'un certain sens, même si on a de très belles découvertes, la société n'est pas prête à approuver l'utilisation de ces approches-là. En technologie médicale, il y a beaucoup de ces choses-là. En médecine personnalisée, il va en avoir beaucoup aussi. Donc, il faut vraiment s'informer entre nous, entre chercheurs, mais aussi avec la société, avec le gouvernement, sur ce que ça veut dire, ces genres de choses-là, et comment prendre une décision un peu plus éclairée, un peu plus informée, en bout de piste, lorsqu'on a des données probantes. Bon, c'est sûrement très difficile, mais il faut le faire. Je pense que je vais pas celui-là. Donc, en résumé, pour nous, si on veut réussir, c'est le partenariat. Donc, le partenariat entre les 3 fonds de recherche, le partenariat avec les universités, le partenariat avec les communautés, que ce soit à Montréal ou que ce soit dans le nord du Québec. Il faut que tout le monde en retire quelque chose. Si on est comme ça, peut-être qu'on va avoir un peu d'avantage par rapport à d'autres sociétés, d'autres provinces où ils n'ont pas encore le modèle d'un chapeau sous le scientifique en chef. Merci beaucoup, je pense que c'est tout. Oui. Oui.
I have a question. It seems that a lot of research in Quebec is also done at the station level with researchers, and I didn't see in that plan any place for technology programs, because more and more the career students are going on to bachelor's, and bachelor students are coming back to SAGEP, and so there seems to be, there needs to be an integration of technologists into research.
My mistake. Yeah, it's true. It was my first meeting this week was with the Fédération des Cégeps du Québec, et il y a énormément. We have an advantage. They created many what we call CCTT. They do tech transfer in a sense directly in the community. Yes, in Montreal, but also in small villages all over the place. There's 49 of them, I think, across the country, the province. And last year or 2 years ago, the federal government decided to open up a bit of a similar type of program in Canada. The Quebec CEGEP, they were extremely successful. They got 80% of all the grant that were given to. And what we hope to do there, again, partnership, is to have a place where you can This is all mixed in a sense. And there is one on the South Shore, École Nationale d'Aéronautique. You have students that are at the college level, you have students that are affiliated with Polytechnic, you have people from private sector, from Bombardier, from Pratt & Whitney, and they all work together, and they learn from each other. So that's a great model, and I think we need to do more.
So please join me in thanking Dr. Quirion. Today has really been a day filled with great discussions and interactions. I'd like to thank, firstly, all of our speakers who took time from their regular jobs, their regular days, to come discuss with us, and it's really been, the third edition has been as good as any edition, and the quality of speakers that we've had are just exceptional. We really appreciate all your efforts in helping us out today. I'd like to thank again the organizing team that really did a lot of volunteer work this year to make this all possible. I really appreciate the work of the panel leaders, Alex, Monica, and Greg. Also, a lot of work from other people for advertising, Alex for the website. This has really been a really great team effort, and I appreciate it. And finally, thank you for the audience for sticking around all day. And please join us at the after-conference cocktail. Thank you.